You're listening to Nicksology on ESPN 1700. Buckle up as anything goes and having fun is the only rule we have. Now, here's your host, Nick Apostolopoulos.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Nicksology. As the man said, I'm your host, Nick Apostolopoulos, proprietor of 619 Vodka. As always, you can follow us on the web at Nicksology.com. You get to the live stream there. On Facebook.com/Nicksology and on Instagram and Twitter at NicksologySD.com. And we're trying something new today, too. We're also periscoping, I think. Hopefully we're periscoping. Same thing, Nicksology SD on Periscope. And we have a great show for you today. I'm really looking forward to this. We have George Thornton here from the Homebrewer and Home Brewing Company.
Howdy.
How's it going, man?
Good.
But I want to start off with our new Cocktail of the Week segment, and I have something kind of fun today, hopefully, because not to bring it up, not that I care, but just yesterday was my birthday, and so we went out for my birthday to Meze downtown. Have you been down there?
I haven't
yet. Meze? No. So yeah, it was my turn to pick a place. So I was like, oh, Greek sounds really good to me. So we went down to Meze, and I love their food down there. And we were checking out the menu, and they had this ouzo mojito on there, and so growing up as a kid, to me, ouzo, if you've ever had it, it's a weird liqueur, right? It's licorice flavored, it's anise flavored, it's kind of a
grandma's candies.
Taste. Yeah, exactly. It tastes like. It's funny because my grandma used to have those candies, but I just assumed they were Greek candies because they tasted like ouzo. That's what I assumed. So, but I didn't realize they were just ubiquitously grandma candies. And so, like I said, for me growing up, we're drinking it like we're drinking it right now, which is in a glass with ice, and it's just cloudy liqueur. And it tastes like licorice, and you either like it or don't. But I had no idea that anybody put it into cocktails. And so they had this ouzo mojito, and I didn't have a chance to make it today. But if you want to try and make one at home, it's just a mojito, but with ouzo instead of rum. And I loved it. It was really good. It had the a little bit of sugar, a little bit of lime juice, club soda, and I liked this taste already. But it was a really great drink.
Yeah, I like that bitter balance in things.
Yeah,
so that's.
Yeah, and because I like mojitos in general, but this was like a good little twist on it for me. It's almost kind of like, have you ever had like gin and Sprite?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, because it's that same kind of mix to me of flavors. So, anyway, so that gave me a good segue to try and talk about ouzo today, which is an interesting drink because I've wanted to try and, the nice part about owning a distillery is I can try fun stuff. And so I've always wanted to kind of try and make it. So I did some research into how you would try and do that. And it's a weird spirit because what they do is they take the ouzo and so they take neutral spirit and they distill it to about 96% alcohol by volume, right? So it's basically pure alcohol, which is kind of the same thing we do with vodka. So I thought, oh, this is a great thing. But then something weird I didn't realize is that then they take usually anise and then sometimes other spices, cardamom and let's see what else. Now I lost my notes. But cinnamon, things like that. And they basically steep it into the alcohol, kind of like we're doing with our infused vodkas. But then what they do is they redistill it again. They distill that. So they actually call that ouzo yeast, or yeast ouzo, and there's no yeast in it at all. It's already been fermented, right?
Yeah.
But then because they're going to redistill that again, that's kind of the source product for ouzo. And so it's kind of weird because I've never heard of a spirit where you make it and then do infusion and then redistill it to get out those flavors. But it's kind of cool. And so if you're looking for ouzo, you want it. It's almost like with tequila where you want the 100% blue agave. You want the 100% distilled ouzo because you can get other ouzos that are not. What they do is they take that, they do that process, but then they just add back in ethanol to get their mix, and they do this flavored ethanol thing, and it's not like.
So they don't redistill it.
They redistill part. Well, so they. In those cases, at least 20% has to be redistilled.
Okay.
But it's like, again, it's like tequila. It's like, oh, yeah, it's from blue agave, but if it's not 100% blue agave, it means they've mixed other stuff back into the wash.
It's like planning for a D on the test.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. And then some people add sugar into the ouzo. I guess that's more of a Southern Greek thing, and I couldn't tell you which brands are from the South or the North or anything like that. But yeah, and that's how you get it. It's kind of cool. So I'm trying to figure out if we can actually pull this off.
So how many of those did you drink last night?
How many did I drink last night? I think I only had like 2 or 3.
Okay,
and not that many. But man, they were tasty. I could have sat there and drank them all night.
But that's good. You had more than one. It's like the beer test. am I going to have like a whole pint of this? Would I have 2 pints of this?
Oh, I need to tell you my Guinness story then, but we'll save that for later in the show. But remind me, because that's. But yeah, no, trust me, and it was funny because I ordered one, and then it was tasted around the table, and then other people started ordering it, and so yeah, it's a great drink. And now
I'm kind of mad you didn't make me one.
I know. I'm sorry. I'll take
the Ouzo though. It's
the
good.
Ouzo's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, just close your eyes and picture with a little mint in it and some sugar.
Yeah.
And then the other crazy thing too, I was in my research was that of course basically everything alcoholic, it was invented by monks.
Yeah.
Like I feel like is there any alcohol that didn't come from monks, like wines and meads and
Well, the first yeast was called God is Good, right?
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Really?
Or at first yeast was called that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was called?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I can't tell you the exact language and the exact translation of how to say it, but that's the
that's pretty wild.
That's the gist.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and then so I also found out too, which I guess I should have known, is that about 10 years ago, what's the right term? They have Greece and Cyprus. Okay, now I'm drawing a blank. They basically got the sort of that ruling where it can't be labeled Ouzo if it doesn't come from there.
Oh,
kind of like champagne.
An appellation.
An appellation. That's the word I'm looking for. Ah, thank you. So yeah, so even if I make it, I can't call it Ouzo, which means I have to figure out something else to call it, like Ouzo like vodka infusion. I don't know. I'd have to think of something else.
Yeah, Ouzo crazy.
Yeah. Ooh. Dude, I like that. You can be my naming guy for our products. Ouzo crazy would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't want credit for that one though.
Oh, that's funny. We had somebody in here, I forget which brewery, but they were talking about how they try and name their beers, and one of them, they were making some kind of weird blonde ale, and the guy wanted to call it Daddy Issues.
Oh. Wow.
And the brewery owner wouldn't let him do it, but I thought, that'd be good. I thought that was a good name.
Yeah.
If you have a whole line of, if you come up with a whole theme of set of beers like that. I liked it. So anyway, that's my Ouzo story. Yeah. So you like it? So you don't like black licorice though, right?
I hate black licorice.
Really?
That's my 12-year-old self talking.
Right.
Those candies are gross, Grandma. Those suck. But
right.
But yet, when you offered Ouzo, I was like, yeah, of course I want some of that. So I think I might like black licorice. I think we just learned something new about myself today.
Well, the funny thing is it's anise, right? And so I don't know. I mean, I know that they use anise to flavor black licorice.
Yeah.
But it definitely has a different... I mean, it tastes like quote-unquote black licorice, but it's definitely different than...
Yeah, it has a lot more going on in there.
Yeah, there's a lot. And I think because, too, like I said, it's just sort of the base. But the more complex recipes include, like I said, cardamom and a bunch of other spices. I can't believe like coriander, fennel, things like that, cloves. And you can definitely taste that it's more of almost like a spicy thing than just than a straight black licorice.
And, I think my official statement now is going to be that I like licorice if alcohol is the vessel.
Well, I was going to say anything right where the alcohol is the delivery mechanism is always a good deal, right?
Yeah, it helps.
That's sweet. Cool. All right. Well, so there's that. Let's get into the beer stuff. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about this. I should have teased a little more, but it's awesome having George here today because he's a certified Cicerone and beer judge and all kinds of crazy stuff, and owns not only a home brewing store but a new brewery that's opened up. So we have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about when we come back from our break. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, Mr. Credit here. If you ever catch me at happy hour, you'll probably catch me drinking a vodka martini. I don't always drink vodka, but when I do, I drink 619 vodka because it's local vodka from right here in San Diego. I know the owner, and you can meet him too. Go to 619vodka.com and think 619 vodka when you're out there having a good time. That's 619vodka.com. And of course, remember to always drink responsibly.
CS Keys here to tell you about San Diego's handcrafted ultra premium vodka, 619 Vodka. It's distilled and filtered 5 times, gluten-free, and made from 100% pure mountain spring water for a smooth, clean finish. It's a 2-time silver medal winner and a 2-time gold medal winner already in 2013. America's Finest City has America's Finest Vodka that everybody can experience. Just go to the website, 619vodka.com. If you know like I know, you better tell somebody.
Remember when a small business needed a landline? Today, landlines are a thing of the past with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. On the road, at the beach, or at home, Grasshopper helps you grow your business. Get all the features of a business phone system and the freedom of a cell phone with our iPhone and Android apps. Features include multiple extensions for your team, calls forwarded to your mobile phones, voicemails transcribed and emailed, and so much more. See how it works at grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system.
So I'm looking at my guy, Mike Shepard here, my program director, and something I never thought I'd say when I met you, Mike. You, my friend, need a haircut.
I do, and I've heard that from so many people over the last few weeks. And you know, if somebody was going to make a criticism, that's one I like to hear.
Go get a haircut, you hippie. 844-567-HAIR. That's why Mike needs a haircut. He went to La Jolla Hair MD. You can see them online at lajollahairmd.com. First consultation, absolutely free. Mike, you were losing your hair, you were bald, you were thinning for a very long time. What was it about this procedure that was so much different than everything else?
It's a revolutionary breakthrough. It's NeoGraft technology, and Dr. Shafu and his team can explain it to you like they did to me, and the consultation, as you point out, Darren, absolutely free.
Not only that, you call now, just because you heard it here, $1,000 off. So do with that what you will. Go check out what they're doing at La Jolla Hair MD, online at lajollahairmd.com, 844-567-HAIR.
Take a look at your voter's credential. If it doesn't have an 18 on the back, it's no longer valid, and you can't use it as an official ID or to vote. That's why you have to renew it as quickly as possible. If you check it and find no numbers on the back, then you can find the expiration date on the front. Also, in states that have elections scheduled for 2016, these credentials will lose their validity the day after the election. So keep informed and renew your voter's credential. National Electoral Institute, INE.
And now, back to Nicksology on ESPN 1700. Brought to you by 619 Vodka, who reminds you to always drink responsibly. Find out more at 619vodka.com.
All right, welcome back to Nicksology. Finished up the last of my ouzo. We're here with George Thornton. George, how's it going, man?
Very well.
Excellent. So, thanks for coming in today. I just got to meet you recently, but I'm excited we got to get you on the show because you have just a wealth of brewery experience and knowledge, and so you're a San Diego native, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome because I've said this a million times. My joke used to be there's 11 of us.
Yeah.
And ever since I've
12.
had the show, there's like 50 or 60. I keep getting more natives.
Unicorns.
Yeah, well, that's what I feel like. I feel like everyone I know, like in my circle, is not from here.
Every time I meet someone, or every time someone realizes that, they're so astounded.
Right. It's crazy, right? Because it's like, oh, wait, there's somebody else that was born and raised here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. So Chula Vista and then Hilltop High, right?
Yep, Hilltop High.
And then UCSD and San Diego State for school.
Yep.
Nice.
After, I guess since we're doing the South Bay Uprising thing, I got to mention Southwestern College first.
Wait, oh, really?
That's the community college I went to before.
No, but what's the South Bay Uprising?
Oh, that's all these new... South Bay has kind of been a black hole of sorts for craft
breweries?
beer things, and slowly but surely it's
starting to happen.
Happening, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So what got you into beer? Do you just start home brewing?
I actually don't know when I got into beer as a fascination. I think I've been fascinated with it for a long time, and by the time I was way too young to drink, we were drinking, and then by the time I was 18, 19, yeah, that's a San Diego thing too. That's everywhere. That's a
right,
human
that's
thing.
Everywhere thing. Yeah.
So by the time, I did get to do a trip to Europe when I was 17, and
awesome.
You got treated like an adult. You get to just don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
And
I actually, segueing back to the Greek thing, I lived in Greece for 15 months between 14 and 15. So it's a little bit younger, but still, we got wine with dinner and the whole thing. Like it was, when I came back, it was odd to me that I couldn't drink anymore. Yeah. I was like, what the heck? I have wine all the time. And then, I got back here and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, so that kind of, from that point on, all of my beer experiences, I wanted them to be better than my prior experiences, which were like, Coors and Bud and Mickey's and that sort of stuff. So
Mickey's.
Yeah,
you know about Mickey's.
Yeah, just drinking grenades,
Basically.
Yeah. And just that obsession with finding better products, better brands, better tasting things, and the history of it. I eventually had my sister pretty much say, hey, instead of instead of you being really picky about the beer that I'm going to go buy for you,
Right.
how about we just get you a homebrew kit and you
Make
can
some.
keep it on tap at my house? And
Oh,
I said, sure.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was probably about 19 or 20 when that
Okay.
happened. And that was school was my focus. So I just kind of homebrewed as a little hobby. Had some friends who kind of helped push me along the way. And then eventually I couldn't find a job in history.
That was your major?
Yeah. And I wasn't really looking that hard either. I was
Right.
already working at a different homebrew store. And when they switched out of the homebrew business, it kind of left a spot for me to open a homebrew store in North Park.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
And how long have you been there at that spot?
4 years.
4 years now?
Yeah,
Cool.
this month. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats, man.
Thanks.
Very cool. And so I know this, but let's talk a little bit about how homebrewing has changed since you started. Because I don't want to talk about it, but I'm sure I'm way older than you are. And so, like, I remember my first homebrew kit was, the only thing I think, there's probably other things you could do, but the only thing I knew how to do was just go down and get a little white bucket of malt, and then take it home and heat it up on the stove and throw some yeast in and let it sit in the white bucket and watch the bubble go and it was fine. It worked. But it's I feel like it's come such a long way since then, right? I feel like when I started and maybe when you started, it was still growing enough where you could make like good beers and maybe 8 or 10 kinds of beers, but it's got to be now where there's just, you probably, I don't know, but I'm guessing at the homebrew shop you probably have 50 kinds of yeast you can buy, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, I think there's more.
Right. And I remember when I was going, it was like, do you want ale yeast or lager yeast? What do you want? What do you want, kid?
Yeah.
That was basically it,
You
right?
can have any color you want. As long as
right. So, it's come a long way, right?
Yeah, it has. I think on the one hand, there is like you mentioned, the resources available to the homebrewers has grown tremendously. The market's growing, the industry's growing, so other people are coming in, finding ways to make money out of it and to make a better product while they're at it. And the other thing that's improved is the community. And I think the community's always been quality, but the networking ability of homebrewers with all the different homebrew clubs. Quaff is the big homebrew club in San Diego. There's several others depending on what part of the county you live in. That's probably the biggest thing, just the access to information other than just reading through forums where you have to find the worst answer and then find the opposite answer and the truth somewhere in the middle.
Well, I still have too. I remember going and I still have somewhere, and they were probably some of the first published, like homebrewing books.
Yeah.
Right? And it was just, that was your resource. And,
like
and there was,
Papazian?
you know what? I
Or
couldn't tell you.
Palmer?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Palmer sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And I know I still have them somewhere in the garage.
Yeah.
But, it was like, okay, here's how you do it. And again, it was really simple. And then there'd be recipes, which, and you'd go, okay. And then you couldn't find half the stuff you wanted in there. And so it was an interesting time where it was like, figure it out. I mean, it was cool too, because, well, at the time too, I was still living at home when I started, and it was one of those things where, oh, he's making beer again because it smelled up the house, and I'm trying to cook on just the kitchen stove. I didn't even have a nice burner or anything. But and then so I was walking by the other day, and I missed you there, but I actually walked through the shop a little bit, and I feel like, because I've talked about this on your show before, I used to homebrew a lot, and then, I don't know, laziness, life, whatever's gotten in the way. I still have all this equipment sitting in the corner of the garage, but I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah.
And actually starting this show and the distillery and stuff, I've kind of, thinking, I need to get back into it. And then I'm walking through the store and I'm like, oh man, my equipment is so outdated. Like I basically, there's so much cooler stuff now you can get. Right?
Yeah, there's cool stuff, but look at the guys at like Cantillon. Their brewery's old.
Oh, really?
And they're still making good beers.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I feel like I'm lazy, so I need my technology crutch of like, okay, I want the coolest gear with the dials and whistles and stuff, so I can just kind of.
Oh, we got that. We'll sell that to you.
Yeah. No. Exactly. No, but because that was always the toughest part for me was when I started going from. I mean, I'm probably going to screw the terminology up. But when we used to get the malt extracts, and then I started going to like a partial grain kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there with like my mom's candy thermometer in the thing, trying not to overcook it, convert the starch and not convert the starch, and then I throw the yeast in. I'm like, whoop, no alcohol came out of that one because I clearly didn't convert it right. Whereas I feel like now, hopefully, the technology is there, right, where
you can still mess it up.
It'd be Nick-proof. I can still mess it up.
Yeah.
Man, see, that's not good news because I will mess it up.
It's the easiest thing ever, right? Humans have been doing it since the dawn of civilization, right?
That doesn't mean I'll be good at it. Trust me, that's not a good barometer for whether I will succeed at doing something.
Yeah, I mean, there's still people who aren't that good at it, but
Right.
but there's enough tools and technology and science know-how to help get anybody there.
Right. Okay. And so through all this time, you're doing a lot of home brewing, and then you got the homebrew store.
Yeah.
And then somehow in there, I mean, you've transitioned into being a certified beer judge, right?
Yeah.
And then a Cicerone.
Yep.
Did I pronounce that right? Because
Cicerone.
I've just learned that term in the last 6 months too. This radio show has been great for that.
Yeah.
And so what was that progression? I mean, obviously you're just doing a lot of home brewing and stuff, but just getting to know the community and just the passion, or how did you get to
all of the above. It's wanting to become a better brewer. So the first area I turned was the BJCP, the Beer Judge Certification Program.
Okay.
And through the training for that,
I feel like I've consumed a lot of beer in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And so I feel like just out of the gate I would be a good judge. But what does it take to become a certified beer judge?
I think everybody has the requisite skills.
Okay.
Because you can taste beer, you enjoy it. And then the next step is just building a vocabulary of different descriptors, and also building up your perceptive ability, so spending some time with different herbs and spices and fruits so you can get close to that. But I don't know how I'm answering this question.
No, you're answering it well. I guess because my big thing, I guess the focus of my question is, I feel like everyone likes different things, right? And so to be a beer judge, there must be some sort of objective set of standards.
Definitely, yeah. That's why I love it, because coming from the historian sort of perspective, where you can look at the past and you can judge it, but that doesn't really get you anywhere.
Right.
You can look at a beer, you can assess. You're just trying to assess what's there, build the case about it pretty much, and then say, okay, well, given this criteria that's been kind of predetermined, does it fit within that criteria? And you say yes or no, and it helps build your own palate. It's nice. Most people that I talk to who are working on becoming judges, it's because they're tired of all of their friends saying, yeah, your beer's great, man, it's awesome, you should open a brewery. And
right.
As everyone says, everyone's really nice because you're giving them free beer.
Right.
And so it's nice to say, you know what, I want to make sure that I'm actually good at this. So let me learn, the off flavors. Let me know the good flavors.
Right.
And let me know what causes those things to happen, so that I can feel more confident saying, no, this is the right way. And then building up the community around you, which is what we've done with the shop. All of our staff and everyone, most of them are at least beer server, if not certified Cicerone.
Okay.
And so that way we have people around you who you can also say, hey, come on, don't
Right.
try to please me here. How does this actually taste?
Right. Well, so then that begs the question too, going through all of this, because I feel like you're right. In fact, years ago I thought I could start a brewery, right? And wanted to, and kind of wish I had, but like you said, everyone's like, oh, this is great, you should start a brewery. How come it took you so long to start a brewery, right? You started your actual home brewing company like a year ago, right?
Yeah, we did our first brew about a year ago on that.
Was there a reason, how come it took so long?
This is probably the worst PR way to say it, but maybe it's the best depending how you want to spin it. But I honestly still feel so much awe and respect for the people who do it very, very, very well.
Right.
And I think there's a very small number of people who do it very, very well and consistently, that I barely deserve to be here. And I'm just working really, really hard to be as consistent as I can to earn that respect in the long game.
Right.
And so when we first opened the homebrew store, everybody asked us, oh, so when are you going to open that brewery? It's
Right.
Never.
Right.
You don't need George Thornton brewing beer. Yeah, well, you know
Why
so much
not,
about
man?
it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Right.
maybe I'm a self-loathing sort of type, and that's just my personality. But
Right.
For me, it's I just love beer. I respect beer. I like learning about beer. It's become my life and my livelihood. That I kind of wanted to wait until we all convinced ourselves, okay, well, maybe, yeah, we can do this. And that's why we our angle is more about education and brewing kind of one-off sort of styles that please us, and where we say, okay, well, now we actually have a purpose here.
Right.
We're not just going to release our pale ale and our stout and our porter.
Right.
We're going to say,
check the boxes and release whatever. Right.
Yeah, we're going to say, okay, well, this is really interesting, this brewing process or technique or style or history.
Right.
Let's brew a batch that represents that. Let's do a good write-up on it. Let's talk to people about it. And let's build an environment where people can feel comfortable to come and learn about beer and drink a good beer at the same time. The beer always has to be good.
Right.
But have an environment where it's attached to this homebrew store, where it's a little different than just, hey, we're opening a brewery and you should come in.
Right. Well, no, I like it too because I feel like that's sort of the state of the industry is such now that because there are so many breweries, people not have to, but people are trying new things and different things, and it's for some people it is, but it's not just about brewing these checking the boxes and brewing these beers.
Yeah.
It's cool that you guys can try different things and do one-offs and get a batch of strawberries from somewhere and go, hey, this would be cool to do this,
Yeah, and at the same time, I do believe that every single brewery is doing that. They are trying to make their own mark in their own unique way. So
right.
It's not like, oh, what we're doing is better because we're doing it that.
Oh, no, I feel like everyone is.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. Right
everyone
there.
is doing that.
Right.
It's just for us, this is what made us feel comfortable and proud. So it keeps us on that kind of learning angle.
So is your theme then just to kind of do, I'll give you an example. Like Toolbox Brewing's obviously going in a very specific direction with what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a theme to it, or is it just more of just love of the craft and hey, this month we'll try to make a whatever?
It's it's all of the above. I think we mostly focus on doing small batch, one-off sort of things.
Okay.
However, we recognize the importance of having a consistent portfolio of brands, so we're sort of slowly developing those as we go.
Right.
Oh, what worked really
standard.
well and makes us happy.
Right.
Cool. Let's do that.
Right.
So yeah, that's our business model is to wing it. My autobiography is going to be called "A Man with Some Pretty Cool Ideas but No Plan."
Dude, I like that because I have absolutely no plan whatsoever too. So what beer were we just drinking right now? By the way, that I
so that was
finished.
That's an example
and
of
I'll even take a little more of that because that was
cool.
really
You got
good.
it.
Yeah.
It's called a smash beer, which stands for single malt and single hop. Something that homebrewers like to do to sort of experiment, learn one type of grain, one type of hop, stripped down to its simplest form. And it turns out, if you look at a lot of old recipes, that they're pretty much smash beers anyway. So it's not like you've never consumed a smash beer before. They just didn't call it that.
Right.
But this one is two-row, which is very basic plain malts, and Pacific Gem, which is a sort of a New Zealand variety of hop that doesn't get a lot of love, but has a lot of pear, lemongrass, sometimes a little dill. I think that's the part that people don't like about it. But we found it to be nice and refreshing.
Now you say it, I taste it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like that little dill flavor.
We dig it. I guess I'd call it a blonde or a pale ale, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good, man. That's really good. All right, well, we're up against a break.
Okay.
When we come back, though, I want to talk because, now you've gone into teaching and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff. So
yeah.
we have a lot more to cover and with George here, and we'll be right back after this.
You're listening to Nicksology on ESPN 1700. Brought to you by 619 Vodka, who reminds you to always drink responsibly. Find out more at 619vodka.com.
Hey, Mr. Credit here. If you ever catch me at happy hour, you'll probably catch me drinking a vodka martini. I don't always drink vodka, but when I do, I drink 619 vodka because it's local vodka from right here in San Diego. I know the owner, and you can meet him too. Go to 619vodka.com and think 619 Vodka when you're out there having a good time. That's 619vodka.com. And of course, remember to always drink responsibly.
CS Keys here to tell you about San Diego's handcrafted ultra premium vodka, 619 Vodka. It's distilled and filtered 5 times, gluten-free, and made from 100% pure mountain spring water for a smooth, clean finish. It's a 2-time silver medal winner and a 2-time gold medal winner already in 2013. America's Finest City has America's Finest Vodka that everybody can experience. Just go to the website, 619vodka.com. If you know like I know, you better tell somebody.
Go to Fuller Honda, where they exceed your expectations from test drive to delivery. Their professional sales team is committed to a no-pressure, high-integrity approach to your ownership experience. Best of all, the new Honda lineup features some of the best fuel economy on the market, along with contemporary styling at affordable prices. The Fuller family has been servicing San Diegans' automotive needs for over 60 years. Fuller Honda, exit Auto Park Drive off the 805 freeway in the Chula Vista Auto Park.
The This is Lori Grenier. You've seen me on Shark Tank. I'm always hearing from business owners who just can't get the money they need to grow. It's time for funding to catch up to the 21st century. It's time for Cabbage. Fill out the application online and you'll get a decision in minutes and could have access to a line of credit of up to $100,000. No waiting, no hassle. Cabbage is the real deal, A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau and twice a Forbes Top 100 company. So go to Cabbage.com. That's Cabbage with a K, K-A-B-B-A-G-E, or call 888-CABBAGE.
This is John Feinstein with the CBS Sports Minute. So now we know why the Zen Master hasn't yet brought a championship to New York. It's Derek Fisher's fault. Phil Jackson fired his hand-picked coach on Monday, allowing him to take the fall for a flawed Jackson-created roster, even though the Knicks were 22-22 a couple weeks ago after winning only 17 games last season. A 1-9 scheme led to Fisher's demise. The fact that Jackson gave him a lousy team to work with was apparently Fisher's fault. This is Jackson's M.O. When it's going well, he's out front, taking the bows and the credit. When things aren't so good, he goes underground and leaves others to take the blame for him. As Red Auerbach once said, the triangle offense and that Zen stuff works a lot better when you've got Jordan, Pippen, Shaq, and Kobe on your team. Just ask Derek Fisher. I'm John Feinstein.
Let's talk identity theft. Did you know that 1 in 4 people experienced it last year? Now, you might think you're covered by free credit monitoring. Free credit monitoring may spot a problem, but it will not fix it. That's like your favorite football player tearing up his hamstring and all his doctor does is say, hey, that looks bad, but then does nothing to fix it. With LifeLock, if you have a problem, your U.S.-based resolution specialist works to fix it. Of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock helps protect your identity and helps keep you in the game. LifeLock membership starts at just $9.99 a month plus applicable sales tax. So you want to call or visit LifeLock.com right now. Use the promo code ROAM, that's ROAM, and save 10% on your membership. Call this number, 1-800-995-5630. 1-800-995-5630. That's 1-800-995-5630.
And now, back to Nicksology on ESPN 1700. Brought to you by 619 Vodka, who reminds you to always drink responsibly. Find out more at 619vodka.com.
Yeah, we want more beer, George. Of course we want more beer.
Yeah, more beer.
Welcome back to Nicksology. We're here with George Thornton, talking about all things brew and beer. So I want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago, though. Back to the judging thing, and we'll get to the SCSU and all that other crazy stuff. But
yeah,
so with the beer judging, it's all about these sort of objective specifications that you kind of you're looking for in the beer. And one of the things you said is that you're looking for like how to ascertain when they're off flavors and things like that.
Yeah.
So this has been a pet peeve of mine for the last 2 months. Explain sours to me then.
Okay, I got you.
Because I feel like, in fact, we had I think it was Toolbox that was saying, oh no, yeah, so you basically brew a beer and then F it up.
Yeah, you do everything wrong.
Right. It's like, hey, let's brew this beer and then let's figure out how to introduce all the yeast all the microbes we've been trying to keep out of it.
Yeah.
And make a beer out of it.
Yeah.
And clearly, I think you can tell I'm not so far a fan of the sours.
Okay.
They're kind of growing on me, but I feel like, I mean, like I get it. Pickles are sour, and I like pickles. Like I get the thing, but so explain it to me. Like what? It's been around for a while, right? It's not a new thing, but I feel like it's kind of, yeah. I don't get sours.
So 2 parts, right? One part is the sour thing itself, right? And then the other thing is, what do you mean off with his word off flavors, right?
Sure.
So we'll do that one because that's easy.
Okay.
I think it's unfortunate that we use the term off flavor.
Okay.
It just means that in a typical quote-unquote clean fermentation, we shouldn't get these certain compounds. And some of those compounds are created by every single yeast during every single fermentation. For instance, diacetyl is a buttery flavor.
Okay.
Acetaldehyde is a kind of latex paint or like green apple flavor.
Oh, okay.
Yeast creates that every single time, no matter what you do.
Okay.
It's been in every beer that you've ever consumed.
Okay.
But if you let the beer mature long enough and don't rush it, those things will be reabsorbed by the yeast. So those are considered off flavors. But then, so that makes sense for the word off flavors. But then we have things like clove, which is a phenol, which the even the type of yeast that creates it, they call POF, phenol off flavor positive. Right?
Nice. Okay.
But it's not an off flavor. It's supposed to be in those beers, so they use those in Hefeweizens.
Okay.
And you want that clove. So the word off flavor is kind of a thing that throws you off, where it's like, it's like, I get clove here. I go, that's a phenol. That could be a off flavor. So it's all about context, right?
Okay.
So in the context of a pale ale, sure, you don't want bubblegum and clove and pepper from the yeast.
Right.
But in the context of your sour beers, these have been around for a long time, before Louis Pasteur showed us how to actually clean things properly.
Right.
And he was the one that proved that yeast actually caused fermentation. Before that, they didn't know what it was. One of the first things ever looked at in the microscope was beer.
Oh, really?
Because that's probably what's next to you when you're a genius.
Well, true.
So
hopefully, yeah.
So they look in this microscope. They see all these things in there, and yeast was drawn out, but it wasn't identified as the actual cause of fermentation.
Oh, really? Okay.
So kind of back to the sour thing. Yeah, you can look at it like they're basically like you described. They're going through all the steps, and then where it gets to the part where every other brewer says don't do these things,
right?
They're like, yeah, do those.
Let's do those things.
Yeah, let's do it. And part of it has a lot of history, and a lot of it's been revived recently. Cantillon, that I mentioned earlier, they rebuilt the brewery and basically built it as an operating museum. So it was kind of twofold. They wanted to make these products because they loved them,
okay,
but it was also to teach people, like, hey, this is our past. This is how it used to be done, at least in this region, and this is what the resulting product is, and it's quite delicious.
So where are they?
They're in Brussels, in Belgium.
Okay.
So with sour beers, when people say like, oh, I don't really like sour beers, it's kind of like saying, I don't like beer. It's like, well, it's really broad.
That's kind of how it's been. Well, and
it's a broad topic, and maybe you've only tried certain things, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't. Like I said,
we're gonna have a sour. We're gonna have a sour sit down.
Okay. No, we should.
Yeah, we should.
I also know that it's something that's just new to me, so it's taking a while to get around.
Yeah.
And I'm not the barometer of anything hip or cool or what's good.
Neither am I.
That a long time ago. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it's just one of those things that I don't totally quite get yet. And that said, for example, I like really hoppy beers. And I know some people who are like, oh, that's really bitter. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But speaking of hoppy beers, I feel like we're headed for, like I said, we've talked about this before too. There was a time where San Diego was the race to the hoppiest beer on the planet, and I feel like I'm worried we're going to go that way with the sours. I mean, the good news is I don't have to drink them, but I feel like we're on a race to the sourest beer in San Diego.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. A good analogy, because in the mid '90s, say you look at like the recipes from like Stone and Green Flash, like hoppier the better. That was kind of, and if you don't like it, it's because you're not worthy and you don't
you don't get beer,
you don't get
how
it.
Cool hip craft beer is.
On the branding side, they had something to kind of latch onto, and now the trend with hops is to take away the bitterness, but use still a lot of hops, but just get the flavor and the aroma from it,
flavor,
which I'm glad for that trend, because I like bitter, but sometimes you need that balance. I think everything should be balanced within itself.
Right.
Now, I think that trend that you were talking about with like the trend towards sour, I think that's definitely true, and it's already happening. I would say that analogy works even better than I could even imagine, because right now the trend with sour is to make it as tart as possible.
Yeah.
Like the enamel should rip off your teeth.
Right. Like if you're not making that weird pucker face and kind of cringing.
If your eye isn't twitching, then it's not sour enough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And to me that's a beer where if I'm judging that, I say it's too sour.
Right.
This beer should be this should be a pleasant drinking experience.
Right.
Even the most historic sort of sour recipes and styles still have some balance within the beverage itself.
Well, and so maybe maybe like many things in life, maybe I'm just ahead of my time, and maybe sours. Maybe I will come around to sours once the pendulum swings back, like it did with the hoppies.
Sour. You didn't leave the sour party. The sour party left you.
The sour party ran way away.
Yeah.
When it swings back into normalcy, maybe then I'll be like, oh yeah, this is a good beer.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it.
So I think there will be examples out there that you really enjoy that have more balance. Because I don't enjoy some of the newer sours that come out that are just that enamel ripping experience. I'm like, I don't like
well,
this.
I'm glad to hear that. So I'm not totally in the wilderness.
Oh, you're so sane.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. Good. All right. Well, and which brings me to something else too, because you started the home brewing, and then you started the store, and you started the brewery and the judging thing and the Cicerone stuff, which we'll get to, and then somewhere in there you said you're just trying to be worthy of the industry with the brewery.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're the teacher. You're working at San Diego State. You're part of their beer program out there, and you teach the classes on style.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're telling them, don't go too sour. But,
yeah, pretty much.
But so how did that come about, man? How did it all?
Dr. Q actually put me in touch with the people who were on the board with SDSU.
And how long has that program been there now? Just a few years?
I want to say about 3 to 4 years.
Okay,
probably.
Cool.
Scott Blair from Hamilton's, he wrote the curriculum for the beer styles class. He taught the class twice, and when they were looking for a replacement, I said, I'll try to fill those huge shoes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so he handed off the curriculum to me, walked me through his kind of ideas for where he wanted to go, and then I got to kind of take my own spin on it. So I've been teaching that for I guess 2 years now.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And so is San Diego? I mean, is San Diego State the only place in the country that has a program like that? There must be more, right?
There are more coming.
I feel like SoCal's kind of on the leading edge of the beer
SoCal's
thing,
a good
right?
leading edge. We have two. There's SDSU. They have the Business of Craft Beer program.
Okay.
That's the more business-oriented, I would say, kind of management-oriented side of things. So
Okay.
it's more focused on front-of-house management. The beer styles class, which I teach, I'm just sort of like the evangelist in the program. I'm there to make sure everybody knows about beer and history and where it's coming from. So when their brewer's geeking out, the accountant can go, yeah, I remember I've had that Orval before.
Okay,
That's great.
okay.
And then UCSD has their program, which is
I didn't know UCSD had one too. Okay.
they have and that's a more brewing science focused program.
Okay.
So SDSU does have. I wrote the curriculum for their brewing basics course, and that's a 5-week course. So they do have something there, but it's still. It's not geared towards, you want to be a brewmaster? Here, take this class. Sure, all those information would be handy, but it's more about, you want to work in the brewing industry or kind of the related industries. Here's just the basics on how beer is made so again, when the brewer's speaking with you, you can understand why that's important to them.
Why things matter and that kind of stuff. That's
so that
cool.
accountants can't, so we get less brewing via accounting happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so from there, I don't know if it's from or there, but then there's the Cicerone thing, right?
Yeah.
And the Cicerone, maybe a good or bad analogy, is like a sommelier, right?
Definitely, that's a great analogy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're a certified Cicerone, and then there's that level, and then the master, right?
Yeah.
Are those the only two levels?
So there's the beer server, which is an online test. Certified, which I am.
Okay.
Advanced was just introduced. They introduced the advanced level while I was basically 2 months before I took the master exam.
Okay.
I took the master exam last November, and that's a challenging course or exam. It's a 2-day exam, 8 hours each day.
Yeah, you were saying 2-day, and so you go on site to some testing center.
It was in Chicago. So the first day was at Goose Island, and you do a lot of half of the day is interviews where they ask you about food pairing, brewery operations, draft technology, and then the other half is tasting and writing. And you do that twice.
And it's fun. It's worth it.
It was the best, one of the best experiences of my life.
Really?
Yeah. So the advanced just got released.
This is why I never finished college, because I just I'm just so tired of this stuff.
It was great. I loved it.
Really?
Yeah. Unfortunately I didn't pass. I got an 81. You need an 85 to pass.
Okay.
But out of 24 people who were all extremely talented people, I was the second highest score. So that's
nice.
And it shows how. And you know what my worst subject was? Styles.
The class you're teaching?
Yeah. It's because Ray Daniels, the founder of the program, he stared into my soul and he shook it. So during my interviews, I kind of choked a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer, dude.
Yeah, but it was fun.
So now that they've introduced the advanced, do you have to go
I scored high enough. They're going to allow me to retake it.
The master.
All the way through 2017, I can retake the master.
Okay.
Otherwise, I have to go to
do that? I mean, it's
once a year.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm taking it hopefully in October.
And then you got to go back out to Chicago or something?
Yeah, I'll go back there. Great town.
I love Chicago.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, we have to take another break. But when we come back, I want to talk to you about the craft industry and the indie versus craft thing, all that kind of crazy stuff. So we'll be right back after this.
You're listening to Nicksology on ESPN 1700. Brought to you by 619 Vodka, who reminds you to always drink responsibly. Find out more at 619vodka.com.
Hey, Mr. Credit here. If you ever catch me at happy hour, you'll probably catch me drinking a vodka martini. I don't always drink vodka, but when I do, I drink 619 vodka because it's local vodka from right here in San Diego. I know the owner, and you can meet him too. Go to 619vodka.com and think 619 vodka when you're out there having a good time. That's 619vodka.com. And of course, remember to always drink responsibly.
CS Keys here to tell you about San Diego's handcrafted ultra premium vodka, 619 Vodka. It's distilled and filtered 5 times, gluten-free, and made from 100% pure mountain spring water for a smooth, clean finish. It's a 2-time silver medal winner and a 2-time gold medal winner already in 2013. America's finest city has America's finest vodka that everybody can experience. Just go to the website, 619vodka.com. If you know like I know, you better tell somebody.
And now, back to Nicksology on ESPN 1700. Brought to you by 619 Vodka, who reminds you to always drink responsibly. Find out more at 619vodka.com.
All right, welcome back to Nicksology. We're sitting here with George Thornton from Homebrewer and the Home Brewing Company, right? Did I get it right? Okay. Yeah. And we've been talking beer and the Cicerone thing and all the certifications. And so now I feel like we're in a courtroom. Now that I've established that you're an expert witness, let's talk about the industry because there's, the whole craft thing started, which was great, but it started as this sort of, I don't want to say rebel kind of thing, but, like Stone, obviously arrogant bastard. Like it was this whole, hey, we're going to go, steal beer back from Budweiser and the crappy Pilsners that are everywhere, and we're going to make some good beers, right?
Yeah.
And of course, that was 20 some years ago, and then things have grown and changed, and now they're 100 and I can never get the exact count show by show, but 125 breweries in San Diego.
Yeah.
And so that was great, and then we kind of became home to the West Coast IPA, et cetera, et cetera. And now some guys are getting bought out, Ballast Point, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, what's your take? What is craft? And now there's this move to it's not craft, it's indie, which is. I mean, I guess I see how that's different, but I mean, are we going to have to start counting how many barrels? How much literally by volume? Like, what's the deal?
That used to be the metric,
right?
Was volume, and then as some of these guys grew, yet they were still part of the industry and still part of that separate scene. They amended the definition to be more about
who's
ownership.
They?
So they would be in this case. It's the it's the Brewers Association of America, and they have. It's not a legally protected term, but they are the ones who hold the term craft beer. They define it.
Oh, okay.
And they've been defining it for decades.
And so is that the impetus for this whole, we'll just start calling, we'll go punk rock again and start calling these the indie beer people or the real craft beer?
I think that's the impetus, is to once again see the cards being dealt and say, oh, never mind. Looks like we need something else here, because they're making fun of us while they're buying us.
Well, they're making fun of us, and they're trying to become part of the industry at the same time, right?
And they're trying to take, basically capitalize on the cool party that we created.
Right.
And meanwhile, we've invited a whole bunch of people to the party, and the other people at the party, they don't really care either. So there's some of us who I feel like I'm right on the fence. I could totally see it both ways.
Well, it's tough for me because, having starting this, vodka business, I read a thing. It was a statement, but I guess it was made out in some kind of form where somebody asked the guy from Lagunitas, like, hey, did you guys sell out? And his response was really well nuanced. It was basically, look, we started this with nothing. We have all these people who've supported us along the way. They've invested money and time and this and that. And at some point, those people need to get rewarded, right? And so the only real way to do that is to sell part of the company and actually get them cash. And, they've spent all this time, and the reward is not just, I own part of this crazy company that I'll never get any money out of, right? Yeah. We're all in the business to make money.
Yeah.
And so, he was like, what do you want from me? Like, at some point, this is how we get rewarded for all the work we've put in.
Yeah, his response was very nuanced.
It was really good. And then you have Ballast Point, and honestly, that's the one where I don't know how I feel, because I remember those guys when they were Homebrew Mart, and I was buying my stuff there, and they started out and they grew, and it's the same thing. Like, if 15 years from now somebody offers me $1 billion for 619 vodka, you know what I'm going to do? Move to the freaking Caribbean. I'm going to take the money. Like, but I feel like I'm part of the craft thing.
Yeah.
So are they still craft? Are they not? I don't know. That's
tough.
the tough part, right?
It's a really tough one. On some levels, it's frustrating because they're using the coolness of the craft brand,
right?
Yet. So then I guess it's what the question is, well, what is the craft brand? Can the craft brand mean big?
Well, that's the thing. It's like a rock band, right? I mean, AC/DC is still, to me, the best garage band around, but they, they're huge, right?
Yeah.
Are they still a rock and roll band? Yeah. They are.
And people think about it the same way as they do with music. It's like, I knew they were cool before anybody else did, and and now they're
right.
And
I was drinking there when they and
I feel that as well, because sometimes the new album sucks, but so I don't know what to. I'm on the fence. As far as like human beings go,
right?
As far as these people as individuals, there's no way I would ever, want to attack them or demonize them.
Whatever,
Gosh,
right.
They're just humans making decisions, and they had really tough decisions. But as far as like the punk ethos of craft,
right,
which I feel like that's where it started. Like you said, it kind of had this punk ethos. Like, you know what? Screw everybody else. Let's do this way. Sometimes the thing that bums me out the most is not really so much that these places are selling, but that so many of the so many members of the audience are saying, well, who cares? And I'm like, well, let's look at the past.
Right.
If you look at Britain, Belgium, the United States, pre and post prohibition, it was all about people getting bought out doing the same exact thing they're doing now. And eventually you get to the 1970s, the market's extremely bland. There's about one choice for beer, basically,
right,
with 15 different names, and so that's why this all started.
Well, it's funny too because I don't know what made me think of this, but have you ever traveled to South America?
Not much, no.
So a few 5-6 years ago, I went on this trip, and we did it's kind of a they're called Gap Adventures. You stay in hostels, kind of whatever, but it's still a tour. And so we went through Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, and it was funny because we went to Brazil, and you'd go to a place, and there were 2 beers you could order, and they were both pilsners. They were just beer number 1 and beer number 2. They were exactly
quote unquote
the same.
local specialties,
right? And then you'd go to Paraguay, and there were 2 different beers, but they were it was Budweiser and Coors basically in every country you went to.
Yeah, and
it made me long for like, oh man, yeah, I can see like that's what they think beer is. There's just and even now, speaking of Ouzo, they have Greek beers at Mezé downtown, and there's Pilsner number 1 and Pilsner number 2. That's what beers are that come from around the world, right? Yeah. So it's cool that all this happened. I think what bugs me more though is the backward thing, right? Like it's like 10 Barrel, right? Because was that created out of whole cloth, or did they buy that? And
they bought them.
Okay, so they did buy that.
Yeah.
But so that's owned by Anheuser-Busch, right?
Yeah.
And now they're
100%.
talking about putting a something in the gas lamp.
Yeah.
And
it's tough. As a member of our
really
community,
tough, right?
I think it's a good thing for East Village.
Right.
They're going to hire local people.
Right.
They're going to, on and on and on. But it is going, don't kid yourself. They are wholeheartedly attacking the local scene.
Right.
Their goal is to do the cloak and dagger
like Trojan horse thing, come in
on
right,
and maybe I'm paranoid, etc., but I feel like there's enough history to back that up.
No, I think so too. I mean, because even beers like Shock Top and Blue Moon, right? Those are basically like Blue Moon's Coors, right? I think.
Yeah, Miller Coors. Yeah.
And but people think that's a craft beer.
Yeah,
they don't know where the hell it comes from, but they feel like it's a craft beer.
I still have people come to the store and say, "Yeah, I really like craft beer. I'm thinking about making like a Blue Moon clone."
Right.
And it's like, okay, that's awesome that you're now trying to get into this. You'll find out down the road.
Right.
That's not my time to tell them like, oh, it's actually Miller Coors.
Right.
Because again, it's here. And here's I think what we at this moment we have this crisis, right? Quote unquote crisis, right?
Right.
We have this existential crisis of sorts.
What
do we do about
what it is,
this, right?
Because
I think we should look to our founding fathers for a little guidance here, and I would love to talk about Jefferson and Washington, but this isn't the context. So
right.
we're going to talk about Ken Grossman and those lot.
Right.
They had the same exact challenge we do now. You have to tell the consumer, convince the consumer that they should spend more money on a higher quality product that is handmade by people that you know and trust and that you respect.
Sure.
The script hasn't changed at all. We still have to tell these people that no, you should stick with the local beer thing, but we also have to be good about not being snobs.
Well, that's the problem,
because we can't turn off our constituents.
And because I would presume that just like the garage rock band starting, right? Like those guys at some point, they want to convince as many people as possible to buy their more expensive handcrafted beer.
Yeah.
At which point it becomes not so much handcrafted anymore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my example of this on my side of the fence is Tito's Vodka. Tito's Vodka was handcrafted, et cetera, and now they're getting sued left and right, which doesn't necessarily make me happy, but it does. You know, they have sort of billed themselves as this handcrafted vodka that's made like in 4 states and sold all over the country. It's not handcrafted vodka anymore. Yeah. I don't begrudge them that because I think that's what we all kind of want, right? Stone's opening a brewery in Germany.
I think that's
they're
the thing,
exploding,
though,
but it's a catch-22.
As you look
right?
at like Sierra Nevada and Stone, they're opening different breweries in different places.
Right.
They found a way to continue to
grow
the
model
and stick with it.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I feel like with Heineken, I know you got to cut to the next break, but
no.
I know with Lagunitas, part of his nuanced argument was, you know what, it just got to the point where we have to figure out how are we going to take this awesome thing that we created out to the masses.
Level.
How are we going to do that?
Right.
So he said, well, we're going to sell our basically 50% of our company to Heineken for the distribution rights. So then you kind of go back and say, well, why not screw the man again and build your own global distribution market?
Right.
Like, how come we can't do that either?
Right.
But I get it. You're tired already,
right.
And you've been working hard.
You've been working hard for a long time,
and bottom line, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
And I don't judge you.
And like
it's
you
not
said,
my
I don't
place.
want to villainize those guys or whatever. It's a tough call, right? And yeah, it's a tough place to be. Well, dude, that's the whole show, man.
All right,
we're done. So how can they find home? Is it homebrewing.com?
So we are. You could do the Homebrewer SD as in San Diego .com, or you could do homebrewingco.com.
Homebrewingco.com. Sweet.
North
man.
Park, San Diego, 30th, El Cajon.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to give a quick plug, too. So 2 weeks from today, we're going to be doing this show live from the Brew Project in Hillcrest. We're going to be selfish and take it over. It's going to be a whole 619 thing. We're launching our new infusions that day. $6 619 cocktails the whole day. Come down. Watch me fumble over this show live in person on site. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll be the guy probably drunk in the room nearby.
Sweet. Yeah. We'll have some ouzo under the table just, for good measure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, George, thanks for coming on,
Thank
man.
you.
This was awesome. This was
thanks
great.
for having me.
All right. And we'll see you back here next week on Nicksology. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Nicksology on ESPN 1700, hosted by Nick Apostolopoulos. Nick is the owner of 619 Vodka. Find out more about this locally owned vodka at 619vodka.com.